Hi, my name's David. In the last video you saw how to create a company and how to set up Deskera book settings. In this video I'll be showing you how to create and import contacts, products, and chart of accounts. So let's get started. First we're going to click on Contacts, and inside here we're going to click Add Contact. Now we're in the contact creation screen. Inside here I can input the contact name, the email address, I can choose the currency. So for example, if this customer mainly deals in Canadian dollars, I can select Canadian dollars, United States dollars. So you can select which currency should automatically populate when I do a transaction. Next, you can see the country's tax compliance. So based upon which country you selected, the tax compliance over here will change. So since I selected Singapore, you can see contact UEN or tax number. If you selected a different country, the information here would appear differently. You can also see up here we have auto numbering format. So if I want to change the format, I can do manual input, the default running number, or I can choose a custom number format by clicking here or clicking over here. After that, I can change it. For example, and I can set it as default and save. Next, I can go to Accounting, and this is where I can select my payment terms. So what should my default payment terms be? And I can always click here to add a new payment term. Now under Buy and Sell, I can select my payable account and receivable account. I can select which one based upon my requirements. Next, we can go to Address. I can type in the address here. And you can see it populates. Now if I have more than one address, I can always click here to add another address. Now if everything looks good, I can press Save. And you can see my contact has been created. So now we know how to create a contact. But if you have a large list of contacts, creating them one by one would be very painful. So let me show you how to import contacts. Let's go click on Import. And inside here, we have a sample file, and you can download it by clicking Download Sample File. But you may already have your own contact file. So in that case, you don't have to use our sample file. Just make sure it's CSV or XLSX, and just drag and drop into here or click Browse. But if you don't have your own import contact file, or you just want to use Deskera's, let me show you how it works. Let's first click on the contact template that you just downloaded. Let's make it nice and big, and let's enable editing. Then let's go all the way to sequence code. Alright, so let me show you how to input your data into the import contact template. But first let's increase the size so we can all see better. First we have sequence code. You can either input it manually, or you can just leave it blank, and the default running number will automatically populate it. Next we have contact name, and you can just manually type it in here. For example, Marie's Keyboards. Or you can copy and paste it on in. We have currency, so this will be the default currency shown in the transactions. We have email, so this is where you can input your email. You can input your receivable account, payable account. And now we have our tax compliant field. So this field will change, or there'll be multiple fields here shown, based upon the tax compliance. So I selected Singapore, so you see contact UEN. We also have payment terms, so this is where you input your payment terms. Your billing address, so this is where you input your billing address. Your shipping address. And we have tax number. So again, this is another tax compliance field. And again, this will change based upon which country you selected. Now, how do you add in your custom fields? Well, you just go to the next column and just type it in. So you'll notice that I put contact first and then followed by a dash and then the custom field. After you put these columns inside there, you can start filling in the data. For example, maybe 10, maybe 60, and then the contact person. After everything looks good, all you have to do now is just click Save. Now let's go back to the web page and upload our template. Now we're back at the web page. I can either drag and drop the file into here, or I can click Browse. Select the file and click Open. Then I can click Next. Inside here I can see that my imported file headers and the Deskera headers have mapped. Now if you're using your own template, your naming may be different. In that case, you may have to go to the Deskera headers and select the correct field. And I can see my custom fields have also been mapped correctly. Now let's click Next. Inside here we have the import properties, so I have different import options. I can add new record, update existing records, or add new and update existing records. So this allows me to choose how I want to import this template. We also have in case of duplicate records, reject duplicates, or import the duplicate rows. In case of invalid values, do you want to reject the entire row, reject the invalid value, but import the row, or add the value in the dropdown? So you can choose here. I can also see my contacts here that I'm importing, and I can check and see if everything looks correct. If something does not look correct, I can just go and click on it, for example, the email address, and type in the correct one. So you can see I can update it directly on the screen. Once everything looks good, I can click Submit. Now you can see my contacts have been imported correctly. Next, let's go to Products, and let's create a product. Now we're at the Create New Product screen. Inside here you can add an image. You can select the type. Is it a non-track product, tracked, or bill of material? So what is a non-track product? A non-track product, you consider it like a service. So for example, maybe electrician, aircon repair, plumber. We also have track products. You can think of it like a laptop, a coffee cup, soda, more or less anything you want to keep track of. And we also have bill of material. So what is a bill of material? You can think of it like an assembly product where you have a bunch of components and you assemble it together to form the final product that you're going to sell. You can think of it like a desktop computer where you have your motherboard, CPU, your RAM, your hard drive, your graphics card, your case, your fan, and you assemble it all together to form the desktop. You can also think of it like chicken soup. You got your noodles, your chicken broth, your chicken, your vegetables, and you do some preparation, you assemble it together, and you have your chicken soup. You can also think of it like packages. For example, maybe a Chinese New Year package, where you have your keyboard, monitor, your desktop computer, your mouse, and it's a computer package where you have all these items and it has a specific price and a discount. So first we're going to create a non-tracked product, and I'm going to call this IT support. You can input your barcode here if you have one. That way, when using your mobile app, you can actually scan the barcode and the item will automatically populate. I can also put in here the description. Next, we can go to accounting. Inside here, I can see my purchase account, so I can select which one. I can input my purchase price. So this is just defaulted. You can always change it in the transaction. I can update my purchase tax, and I can set this as default purchase tax. It'll be defaulted every time. We have our sales, so this is where I can select my sales account and I can input the sales price. I can also select my sales tax here. I can also set this as default sales tax. And I can also select my sales return account and my purchase return account. Now let's go to inventory. Inside here I can select the unit of measurement. So for example, maybe for IT services I want hours. And if I have multiple UOM, I can enable multiple UOM here. You can also select different variants if we want to for this non-tracked product. After that, I can save it. And you can see my non-tracked product has been added. Let's click New Product. And this time, let's create a tracked product. So just like non-tracked products, I can add an image. I can input the name. And I can input the description. I can also update the barcode, so that way from my mobile phone I can scan in the barcode and automatically populate. And I can select the number range. So do I want it to be our default running number? Do I want an additional custom number formats for maybe different products, or do I want to manually input it? So I can select that here. Next, let's go to accounting. Inside here you can see it looks exactly the same as non-tracked products. So you have your purchase account, purchase tax, sales account, sales tax, sales return account, and purchase return account. I can also update the purchase price as well as the sales price. Next, let's go to inventory. Inside here we have the unit of measurement, so I can select pieces, for example, and you'll notice some additional fields here. We have cost of goods sold account, inventory account, and stock adjustment account. We also have reorder level and reorder quantity. But what is reorder level? Reorder level means that this is the amount of stock that you must have in your warehouse. If you go below this, you're going to have to place an order with your vendor based upon the lead time in order to have enough stock to fulfill to your customers. So if your reorder level is 20 pieces and your order quantity is 40 pieces, this means that if you go below 20 pieces, you're going to have to place an order with your vendor for 40 pieces in order to have enough lead time so you don't run out of stock. That way you can still continue to fulfill your customers' requirements. We have preferred vendor. So for example, I can select who my preferred vendor is. We have the ability to enable advanced tracking. So we have batch tracking and serial number. We have opening balance. Remember how I mentioned earlier about book beginning date? So everything before your book beginning date is your openings. This also includes your opening quantities. So for example, if I had t-shirts before my book beginning date, this is where I'd input it. So for example, if I had 10 pieces and the total value was, let's say, $182. Well, this means that these 10 pieces of your opening quantity is equal to the total amount of $182. We can also select the primary warehouse, or which warehouse you have if you have more than one. We can also select variants. So if my product has multiple variants, such as color and size, I can select the attribute. For example, color. Maybe I want red, black, blue. And I can add attributes here too as well. For example, size. Large, small. And I can continue to add more and more attributes, and I can also create my own here. After that, I can click Save. Inside here, I can input the barcode, update the sales price if any of these change, any opening quantity, opening valuation, and after that, I can click Generate. And now you can see my product's been created. And you can see the product that we just created is highlighted in a different color. The reason for this is our available stock. It currently is 0. We set the reorder level, so since the stock levels or stock availability is lower than the reorder level, this is highlighted another color. This allows us to click the 3 dots and then create a purchase order. This also gives us the ability at a quick glance to know which products need more stock. And we're able to do it directly on the screen, so we don't have to go back to the buy screen to do it. We also have the filter button here. This allows me to, of course, filter out active, inactive, non-tracked, tracked, and bill of material. But more importantly, pending reorder. So if I click on this and save, I can then see all my pending products right here. So let's go create 2 more tracked products, 1 batch tracked and 1 serial tracked. So let's click New Product. So let's enter the name of our batch tracked product. So for example, milk. We can input a description. We can update anything in accounting based upon our requirements. So for example, if I want to update the purchase price and sales price, the key thing to note is you see this little star here for each of these fields. That means it's mandatory. If there is no star, it's not mandatory, so you don't need to fill it in. And again, you can update all these different accounts, purchase and sales tax, and of course the sales return account, purchase return account. Under inventory, we can put in the unit of measurement. So I'm going to put it as, let's say, pieces. You can update the cost of goods sold account, inventory account, stock adjustment account. You can always enter the reorder level and reorder quantity, the preferred vendor. But the key thing here is that we want to enable advanced tracking, and we want to make this batch tracking. Now I'm going to update the opening balance. So I'm going to say we have 10 pieces of milk, and the total value is $100. And if we have a primary warehouse, I can select it here. The key reason for this is I want to show you where you can assign the batches for these 10 pieces here. So let's click Save. So it says here you've enabled batch tracking. You need to add the tracking number in order to fulfill orders. So let's go to tracking. Inside here we can create our batch number. For example, batch 0001. And I can assign the quantity. For example, maybe 5, and I can add the batch. Then I can choose the manufacturing date, and I can change the expiry date because no milk lasts a year. So let's change this, maybe 3 months, and let's say October 1st. And then we can save it. I have assigned 5 pieces to a batch. Now, how do I assign the remaining 5 pieces? Let's click on the product, and let's click on inventory tracking. Inside here you can see my batch and the 5 pieces. I can click here, and this will allow me to edit advanced tracking. Inside here I can type in the batch number, and I can click add batch. I can also see up here unassigned batch quantity. So I see there's 4 remaining. I can input the manufacturing date, for example, August 29th. And let me change the date to maybe September 10th. And then I can update the quantity here, and then I can save the changes. And now I've updated the remaining batch quantity. Next, let's click on new product, and let's add a serial number product. So for example, laptop. Let's add the description. Again, in accounting, I can add in the purchase price and the sales price. This is the default sales price. So this is just defaulted in your buy and sell. You can always update and change the price there. Now under inventory, I can update the unit of measurement, the cost of goods sold, inventory account, stock adjustment account. I can always update the reorder level, reorder quantity, and the preferred vendor. We're going to enable advanced tracking, and this time it's going to be serial number. Again, we're going to update the opening quantity, and we're going to update the opening valuation. Then we're going to click Save. Now it says here you've enabled serial tracking. You will need to add the tracking numbers in order to fulfill orders. Go to Tracking. So inside here we can update the serial number. So for example, I can do S-001, S-002, and then I can click Assign. And then I can save it. After that, I can click on my product. I can go to Inventory Tracking, click on the Edit Advanced Tracking, and inside here, I can add an additional serial number for my third unassigned quantity. And then I can save the change. But what if you have a lot of products? Creating them one by one can be quite painful. Thankfully, we have an import option where you can import tracked and non-tracked products or bill of material products. You select which one and you click Next. Then you can download a sample file. Now, if you have your own product file, you just can drag it and drop it into here. Just please make sure it's a CSV or an XLSX file. But if you don't have a product file, you can always use our default template. So let's open it on up. Let's click Enable. And let's go to the first column and let's increase the size. That way everyone can see it better. Now we're inside the product template. Inside here you can see sequence code. Sequence code is the unique identifier for your products. You can either type it in manually or you can leave it blank and the default code will be automatically populated. We have product name, so this is where you can input the product name here. For example, mouse or web design. We can determine the product type. Is it tracked or non-tracked? We can input the barcode here. We can input the product description. We can input the purchase price and the sales price. We can select the purchase account, sales account, purchase tax, sales tax, the unit of measurement, any opening quantity or opening valuation, update the cost of goods sold account, inventory account, stock adjustment account, update the warehouse, purchase return account, and sales return account. After everything looks good, you can save it. I'm going to add in, I think, 3 more tracked products that we'll later use for our bill of materials. So for example, And let's save, and let's import it. Inside here, you can just drag and drop the file right into here, or click Browse, select the file, and click Open. After that, you can click Next. Inside here, you can see your imported file headers and your Deskera headers. You can see they've all auto-mapped. If for whatever reason they're not mapping, you can click here and then select which field should be assigned to this header. After that, you can click Next. Inside here, you have your import options. You can add a new record, update existing record, add new and update existing record. In case of duplicates, reject the duplicate or import the duplicate rows. In case of invalid values, reject the entire row, reject the invalid value, but import the row and add the value in the dropdown. So I can see here there's one invalid record out of 5. If I click here, I can see the invalid record. I can scroll over, and I can manually update it right here. After everything looks good, I can click Submit. And I can see that my products have now been added. Now let's create a bill of materials. Let's click New Product. Inside here, let's select the type as bill of materials, and let's give it a name. Let's give it a description. Let's go to accounting and give it a purchase price, sales price. Let's go to inventory, and you'll notice there's a new field here called manufacturing account. So this is where you select the manufacturing account. Let me just update the unit of measurement. And let me go to bill of materials. Inside here is where we can select our different components. So for example, I want to add in a keyboard, a mouse, a monitor, and a desktop computer. Also, I want to add some additional cost. For example, maybe assembly. And then I can put in the amount here. After everything looks good, I can go and click Save. You can now see that our bill of material has been created. But if you have a lot of bill of materials, it may be very tedious to create them one by one. So we have the import option. So let's go click on Import. Let's click on BOM Products. Click Next. And we can download a sample file. Now if you have your own template for bill of materials, you can just drag and drop into here. But I would recommend to look at how our format is, because it may be different from your format. So let's open up our BOM product template. Let's enable editing. And let's go to the first column, and let's increase the size. Inside here you can see the sequence code. So just like the other template that we discussed earlier, you can either manually type in your sequence code here, or you can leave it blank and the default will populate. You'll notice there are spaces in between the lines. These spaces here are for the components. We have the product name, the product type, the barcode, product description, sales price, purchase account, sales account, purchase tax, sales tax, the unit of measurement, opening quantity, and opening valuation. So I'm just going to update this to 0. We have the cost of goods sold account, inventory account, stock adjustment, the manufacturing account, the warehouse, and this is where you input the components. So you can see it's on the next line. Then you can input the component quantity. So for example, I only want 1 and 1 here, also 1 and 1. Then you can put in the additional cost name here. So for example, labor charges and assembly cost. And you can put in the value here. Then you can put in the sales return account, purchase return account. Now if everything looks good, you can save it. And then we can close it. Now inside here, you can just drag and drop the file, or you can click Browse. Select the file and click Open. After that, you can click Next. Now inside here, you can see the imported file headers and the Deskera headers. And you can see they're already auto-mapped. If you're using your own file, then some of the fields may not have mapped. If you click here, you can select which field you wish to assign. If the column is not required, you can click Do Not Import this column, or you can create a custom field, so that way it is imported. Now if everything looks good, we can go and click Next. Inside here we have the import properties. You have the import options, such as Add New Record, Update Existing Record, Add New and Update Existing. In case of duplicate records, reject the duplicate, import the duplicate rows. In case of invalid values, reject the entire row, reject the invalid value, but import the row, or add the value to the dropdown. Now inside here I can see my different bills of material. If I click this little arrow, it'll open up and I can see my components here. So if you see any errors and you're unable to see where the error is, just click here. It could be one of your components. I also have the ability to change it directly on the screen. So for example, if I want to update, let's say, the description, I can do so right here. And if everything looks good, I can click Submit. Now I can see that my bill of materials have been created. Next, let's go to Accounting. Let's go to Chart of Accounts. Inside here, you'll see the default chart of accounts. This has all been created so that if you don't have a chart of accounts or don't want to upload your own, you can immediately get started. Now, if you want to deactivate them, you can just click here and click Deactivate. With our default chart of accounts, you can click on the three dots and you can edit, deactivate, and view custom fields. If it's your own created chart of account, you're able to delete it. Now over here, you can set default accounts. So this sets the default for undeposited funds. Now let's add an account. So inside here we can see our different account types. So the first one I'm going to use is expense. Put in the code. Put in the name. I can select taxes here, and I can update the description. Then I can save it. Now let's go add another account. This time I want to add in a bank. Put in the code. Put in the name. Select the currency. So if you have multi-currency enabled, you're able to select different currencies here. And then I can input the description. And then I can click Save. And let's add one more account. This time I'm going to type in current liabilities. I'm going to put in the code. Put in the name. And I'm going to select credit card account. Use this as a credit card to make and receive payments. You can pay the outstanding balance by using a fund transfer in Accounting GE. I can also update the description. And I can click Save. Now if you're using your own chart of accounts and you have a lot of them, creating them one by one can be very painful. Thankfully, we have an import option. So let's click Import. Now if you have your own chart of account file, you can just drag and drop it in here, so long as it's a CSV or an XLSX file. If you don't, or want to use our sample file, just click here to download it. And then we can open it. Enable editing. Let's make it nice and big. And let's increase the size. Inside here is where you can put your account code, account name, account description, account group, your tax code, and your currency. So you can just fill in all this information. If it all looks good, you can save it. And then we can close this. Next, we can click Browse, or you can drag and drop the file into here. Select the file, click Open. Click Next. Now you can see that the fields have auto-mapped. If everything looks good, you can click Next. Now, if you're using your own file, maybe these labels do not match your import. So you can click here and then select which one it should map to. If everything looks good, let's click Next. We can check and see if everything looks correct. If you want to change anything, you can change it directly on the screen. And then we can click Submit. Now our chart of accounts have been created. So just to show you, I created this account earlier. I can click on these three dots, and I can click Deactivate, or I can click Delete. So let's delete it. And that was a quick look at how to create and import contacts, products, and your chart of accounts into Deskera Books.